Hey friends, it's me. Can you see me? Can you hear me? How are the music levels? Hey Shagraz, hey Ghost Pepper. How are things? Oh my gosh, it's Thursday. For some reason, my brain feels like it should be Friday and this should be the last work that I have to do for the week, but it's not. But that isn't gonna stop my brain from feeling that way, apparently. Um, how are you guys doing? Shograz and Ghost Pepper and anyone else who may be lurking in the chat. We're doing something a bit different today. Instead of clicky clacks and words, we're gonna be working on a cover. This is only the second time I've done something like this on stream. I feel like the last time we did this, which was when we made, this cover, The War for Freedom, I got ultra focused on trying to get the circle to look right, and it was like 3 hours of me just trying to change colors on an image. So hopefully that won't happen this time. I don't know. I never know if these covers are going to come together in 5 minutes or take 10 hours until I get started on them. Oh gosh. Already knocked my microphone over. Sorry if y'all went deaf. Have you considered commissioning Norman Boton for your cover? You know, Flannel, I don't think I could afford to get such an epic commission. These covers are put together for the low cost of free, or the credits for the stock photos if I use one from a stock photo site that costs money. I definitely think that Norman Boton is probably out of my price range. Unfortunately. Flanny, how are you? How are you doing? I know you said, I know, tell me about it. The life of us plebs who don't have epic, fantastic works like Empress Teresa. How are you feeling today? I know you said yesterday you were feeling pretty grody with the ear infection. Are you doing better today? I hope so. Fingers crossed. But how are you doing? Slightly less grody? Hey. Better than not feeling better and better than feeling worse, right? Oh yes, you were asking about my release schedule yesterday. Did you get a chance to hear me talking about that, or does your question remain unanswered? Because if your question remains unanswered, please let me know so that I can answer it. I sneezed today for the first time since this happened and discovered new pain. No! Oh my gosh. I can only imagine what that felt like if your ear's been swollen closed to sneeze. Oh my gosh. Flanny, sending you all the hugs. Not fun. More just wondering what your first published works were. So the first thing I published was Island of Lost Forevers. So yeah, actually, let me actually just go on Amazon. I was just like, what is the fastest way to open one of these things? This was my first book that I published back in, I believe it was 2014. Will tell us right here, May 10th, 2014. So Mystical Island was my first series. And then Eternity's Empire, the one that we're working on right now. The one that we are doing the final cover for. I started publishing these next. So this was the start of my second series. This one was published in 2017. Wowie. These were republished So I don't know if that is... how accurate that is to if it's showing the original publication date or the republication date. But these were the ones I started second. And then the next, James Abendroth was a friend of mine with whom I wrote the Mystical Island trilogy. That is who he is. He also has other books on Amazon. He writes quite different things than what I do, but you can check him out on Amazon as well via the page there. After Eternity's Empire, which has obviously been ongoing as I've published other series, the next was The Dream Things True, so Dreamers Do Lie and Life is But a Dream. And then I started publishing The Celestial Serenade, which is also currently ongoing. So that's the publication order. If you're interested in knowing what's newer versus what's older, I hope that things get progressively better. I will say, I had written Dreamers Do Lie at least one time prior to starting to publish Eternity's Empire. So in some ways, even though Dreamers Do Lie is technically newer than Eternity's Empire, it's also technically older. Wrap your mind around that one a bit. But yeah, that's the order. So it was Mystical Island, Eternity's Empire, Dreamers Do Lie, and Celestial Serenade. And then, not next year, but the year after, we'll be starting the Aravalia Chronicles. So, there you go. And while I have this open, actually... we'll just go peek at the covers. So you can see for the covers of these books that I've tried to keep them fairly consistent. They all use the same template. So they all have some kind of background. They all have this rune circle in a different sort of shade. And then they have some object that's specific to what's happening in the story within the circle. So those are sort of the elements that make it up. And over here, this is sort of the template, right? So I'm basically just going to swap out bits and pieces of this template until we have created the final cover. A brief history. Yeah. A brief history of my publications. So it's hard for me to actually believe that I've been doing this since 2014. I did publish the first book, Mystical Island, in the Mystical Island trilogy, Island of Lost Forevers. I actually published that while we were living in England for a year. And then I think we had maybe come back when I published the second one. It was either the first two that I published while we were over there, or I published the second one shortly after we got back. I know I was writing book 3. Flannel, oh my goodness, thank you so much for gifting a sub to T-Pain. I'm sure that T-Pain will spend hours on this channel just enjoying the clicky-clack tippy-tapping. Snozberries, hey, how are you? What is up, my friend? How are you today? What was I saying? I remember that when we moved back from England, I was writing the third book in the Mystical Island trilogy, which is Sea of Twisted Souls. Because I remember that we sort of briefly rented a basement apartment while we were waiting to take possession of our first house in where we live now. Second house that we had ever bought, but the first house in the area where we live now. And yeah, it was an interesting experience. I vividly remember trying to like feel my way through that book while all that other stuff was going on. I'm doing pretty good, Snozberries. Hoping that this cover is going to cooperate with me today, because the last time I tried to do a cover on stream, it did not cooperate at all. But doing pretty good. basement apartment. It actually wasn't that bad for a basement apartment, but it was literally like it was literally like a giant like bedroom space and a giant like kitchen dining space. There wasn't even really like a living room. We only were in it for a month, and the people who were renting to us were very nice, wonderful people who we've kept in touch with prior. Not so much since the pandemic started, but very nice people. But it was just a really hectic time. And I remember the most interesting part of this story is that we, like, the day after, we basically got possession of our house on, I think it was like October 1st. But we had 2 weeks left before the movers were going to come with our stuff. And so there was a little bit of overlap where we were in the furnished apartment and we were setting up the house, and we had basically gotten like the internet hooked up and all that kind of stuff. And we were starting to think about potentially camping out in the new house. And there was this massive power outage on the side of town where we were renting the basement apartment. So we had a house that had no furniture but power, but like no groceries or eating materials or like anything to sleep on. And we had the place where we were renting, which had furniture and, you know, eating supplies, but no power. So that was an interesting night because we basically had to drive back across town to eat at a restaurant. And then we ended up going just back to the apartment that we were renting because there was a bed there. But Ghost had to get up at like 2 a.m. when the power came back on so that he could iron his shirt for the next day. It was a very interesting day. After that, we got some couches that we had bought delivered to the new house, and we just camped out in the new house with plastic plates and like macaroni salad and whatever. And our stuff actually came earlier than expected, but it was an interesting couple of days. I'm sure this one will go better. I like that you have such faith in me, Snozberries. I hope you're right. My first apartment on my own was a basement apartment. It was fairly nice, but it had a ceiling fan that was at the same level as my forehead. Oh my gosh, and I'd forget about it every morning. Our first apartment was a basement apartment as well. And it wasn't a great basement apartment, but it wasn't like an awful basement apartment. It didn't have much in the way of windows or natural light. But it was actually a fairly decent size. Our landlord was, you know, pretty chill. And we lived there for like 5 years. But now that we've lived not in basement apartments, we're not necessarily eager to go back to living in basement apartments. So it was, but we had kind of learned from a bunch of different moving experiences that in order to get, like, when you're buying a house, in order to get possession of the house and get like your internet and all of the things that you like kind of need to be comfortable on a day-to-day basis, in order to get all of that stuff set up, you can't really get it done like on the first day. If you're planning to get possession of a house that you've bought and be in that house like on the same day, it's nigh impossible to do. And so we planned when we came back from England, we were like, okay, we know that we're not going to be able to go straight into our final house. Like, we didn't even, the purchase of our house didn't even go through until we had been here for a month. So we were like, let's just find a place that we can rent, that's furnished, that has like everything we need to be comfortable for a couple of weeks while we're sorting everything out. And then there just happened to be that kind of overlap because we're in British Columbia now and our stuff was coming from Ontario. And so there was just a lot of there was a lot of shuffle, and we had been gone for a year. Our stuff had been in storage for a year. Like, we just knew that it was going to be a logistical nightmare. So we were like, whatever, let's just find a temp space. So hot tip life hack, if you're ever doing like a really big move, and I know like it's an extra expense and whatnot, but it's a real, it's much less of a hassle if you have some place that you can cheaply rent that's furnished for a couple weeks while you're making the transition. Because one, it's going to actually end up being cheaper than staying in a hotel. You're going to actually be able to like cook real food and not have to go out to eat like all the time. And it's just like one less thing for you to worry about while you're in that transition. Because like, oh, I want to go home and watch a show and actually have like a couch to relax on, or like whatever. If you're able to get a furnished place, it's just it's much easier to be sort of in that limbo. So that's my advice. If you can swing it and if you can find a place and you're doing a big move, give yourself the leeway. Halo Banshee, we gotta stretch. Oh yeah. How are you, by the way, Halo Banshee? What is up? And we got some hydration going on. Oh my goodness. So yeah, can you tell that I've moved? Can you tell that I've moved like 3 million times? Taking care of the streamer. The streamer appreciates it, Halo. I really do. But yeah, you can probably tell that I've moved like way too many times. That I have like a process. Much like the last time we did one of these streams, I have an idea for what I want the cover to turn out looking like. Last time we had to sort of abandon the original plan for the cover because the background did not work out, and neither did the... Ooh, you guys shouldn't maybe be looking at that. The background and the colors just didn't work out the way that I kind of wanted them to. So, we had to sort of go back and re-look at what the concept was going to be. So I would like to start with this sort of concept of the archway, and to have the to have this rune circle be kind of in the center of the archway, and then have the colors look nice. I'm not quite sure what color we're going to end up with because it kind of depends on the background, but hopefully what we're gonna end up with is something that works, and if not, then we'll go back to, I mean, I've kind of just started with the concept of this archway, and if it doesn't end up working out, then there's a bunch of, like, if we go to the... This is the site that I always try first for images because they're free. So if we come here and search Arch, there are a lot of other options that could work. Starting with this one because it has this nice, I don't want to say plain, but it has this textured background where it would be easy to read off of. The hope is that the vines will sort of sit along the outside edge. If you look at how, this is sort of set up, right? The hope is that the arches will sort of sit, the vines will sort of sit here, and then most of what you're reading will hopefully be sitting in this area where it's plainer. and not as busy, and that should theoretically make it easier to read. But I can already tell that this is much wider than it is tall, so it's going to depend what the distortion looks like. But if we go back to the stock photo site, there are a lot of different arch pictures to choose from. The idea that I kind of had was there's a specific doorway in this book that the characters are going through. You can even see here, like this one, I could put another background in the door if we ended up using something like this, because it's already transparent. So I could actually just have like another background in there, which is nice. And there's also a few more of these. Now I've picked this one because it matches more like what's happening in the actual story, as opposed to there being, you know, fantasy through there. But there's lots of options. I'm kind of picturing in the book a sort of marble arch that leads into a room that is described in detail within the story. So there's a lot of options. If the first one doesn't work out, we can go back to the drawing board. And actually, if I can't find something on Pixabay, I can actually go to there's another site called Deposit Photos where the images do cost royalties on here, but I have some stock photo credits that I have previously purchased, and you can see that there are a lot of options here as well. There's slightly higher quality images on Deposit Photos because you pay for them. So if I really get stuck and I can't quite find something that's workable on the free site, I can do something like this. Might work really well, although that's more of a vector illustration than a photo. So yeah, there's a lot of, and I see already that there's a lot of these images where the background has already been cleaned out. So if I need to use something like that, this one might actually work really well too. I can go for something like that. So I like this one too, but it's a bit grayer than I want to go. I want something with vibrant color in it. So we're basically just going to, first of all, we're just going to turn off the stuff that we don't need to worry about right now. So we're going to turn off everything that is not the initial background. Just gonna turn off everything that's not the text and the initial background and rune circle, because I want to get these things looking good before I worry about anything else. Sorry, I know this is like the world's most exciting stream so far. It's gonna get even more exciting when I just stare intensely at the screen and try to change colors. This is actually where we're gonna find out pretty quickly whether or not the background that I want to use is going to work, because it's either not going to fit in the space, or the text isn't going to be readable when it does fit in the space. And I have a feeling that we're going to see either that it's going to be 100% fine, or it's instantly going to be just a scramble to try and find something that works. So we want to go above the background here. And we just want to start by essentially making this the shape of our background. And I can actually just make it, try to make it the same amount on each side there. But that doesn't look too terrible. I can actually turn this off as well to get a sense of what we're actually looking at. I don't know that I like the way the leaves are looking there. I can, let's see, we can kind of expand it out. We can just actually make it bigger. We can also, like, we can fiddle with it a lot, but... It's a little better. The leaves look slightly less wonky in this version. I'm gonna change the text now so that it reads what the title actually is. Also kind of trying to make sure, just for reference, the of looks a little bit more touching here, so I might try to put a tiny bit of extra. This 32. No, what did I do? There we go. Just put a tiny bit more clearance in there, and then I can just bump that up the tiniest little bit to compensate for it. It's a comfy stream. I hope. Ooh, gosh. I hope so. That's what we're going for. Snozberries, what are you up to today? Okay. So one other thing that, first of all, I'm going to save as Empire of Eternity so that we don't accidentally save over the original. One other thing that I can do is I can do a little bit of a surface blur on the archway here. Just to soften it up a little bit. So it's a little hard to tell probably on the stream, but this is the before and this is the after. I'll zoom in a little bit and see if you guys can see it a little bit better. So this is what it started out looking like. It has this really rough texture to it. And then if we put the surface blur on it, it's just ever so slightly softer. And then what should happen when we zoom out is that it should make the text ever so slightly easier to read. And what I might actually do is bump up the threshold on that surface blur to... I could try going 20, or I could try going a 10 pixel radius, which I think I might actually like better. It's a little bit more noticeable. It does make the shadows quite a bit more intense. So what I might actually do... This is basically what I do for these, is I just sit here and fiddle around with the, I just sit here and fiddle around with things until it looks kind of the way I want it to look. What I might actually do is try to increase the contrast a bit between light and shadow here to make it just look a bit more interesting, like visually. So we can make that center very, very bright. And then you can see sort of the difference here that we've just made it quite bright. And we can also do curves. Hey, cover design, beautiful. Thank you. We've just started. We're just trying to get the background to a place where the text is readable. But the background looks sort of visually interesting without being sort of overwhelming. So I'm fiddling a little bit with the contrast. I actually really like that, although it makes the text a little bit harder to read. But what I can do is I can turn off the exposure and see what that looks like. Because I do kind of really like that. Now I do think it's a little bit too dark in that one corner. See, I like the color of that. And then what we can basically do is we could go filter. We can do the surface blur. And so now we have something that is a bit softer, but still has that kind of pop. I wish I could do cover design. I have to pay people. Honestly, I pay someone to do half of my covers as well. I have these really, hopefully that's not showing my address. I have these really gorgeous covers for my Celestial Serenade space opera. These were all made by someone else. My cover designer, Molly Phipps, did these. They are absolutely amazing. I love them to bits. I cannot do this. I cannot do anything approaching this. If you guys saw like what they look like before she cleans them up and makes them gorgeous, like she's got some genuine skill. But I actually have a kind of template that I use for this one where I just sort of plug in the different pieces. So I can do this. I can fiddle with this. So now the challenge is, I like that background. Now we have to see if we can make the, circle work on it, because you notice that now that I've added sort of these to that, we've really, really washed out that circle. So I need to see if I can go back to this, essentially, and make it look less washed out. Good luck on the phone call, Snosberries. I love the art of the painting, like, covers. Yes. Oh my gosh. I used to love, when I was younger, there were a lot of covers that came out by, I think it was Michael Whelan, who is amazing, like, just an amazing painter, but I probably won't ever be able to afford anything like that. Janine, hello, how are you? Yeah, so basically now what I'm doing is, so this is another kind of hack that you can do with Photoshop. Essentially, this is my default image. This is the original image that I originally used on this image. And now I can fiddle with the blending mode for the layer to make it look different based on what's underneath it. So we're gonna fiddle around with this. I actually think it looks pretty good with the stark contrast here, so we might not have to play with it too much, but there's just gonna basically be a lot of scrolling through settings to try and make things look the way we want it to look. So, and now some of them are gonna look, like, that looks pretty cool. It makes it look like it's a little bit behind the arch on the one side, but it's pretty cool. These ones that are, like, super, like, color burn and stuff, we probably can't use those because we'll lose the color later on. And then you have these ones which are, like, super, super washed out. Ooh. That's not terrible. Now, I do like this background, but I'm still worried that we might not be able to make the circle work with it, so we'll have to see. What I might try to do is go back to normal and see what color we can get out of it. Now, I like the benefit of something like multiply or screen is that it gets rid of that black that's inside, and it makes it, so if you look at this one, I like that transparency where you can see the background through it. But we did, with the last one, kind of use this, whoops, what did I do? We did kind of use the harder, like, we left the background sort of intact so that if you look at it here, you can't see the flames through the center of the circle. So we shall see. I like painted covers so much. Me too. I have no idea what my book title or cover would look like, so I'm just lost and confused. Covers are hard. I've changed the covers for my Mystical Island series several times. And honestly, like I said, for my like really, really nice covers, like these covers for my space opera, like I hired someone to make these. And she's amazing. I just can't, I can't necessarily afford to hire her for 6 books every year. She does 4 out of my 6 books every year, and I do the other 2. So, and these are also much shorter, smaller books as well, so I try to save a little bit in the budget. Flutter, hello! Can't hear anything in an airport. Just sending a quick message to Flutter. She's been traveling, hoping her trip has gone well. It's a YA science fantasy, and it isn't space-based or dystopia-based. I don't want to do a photo manipulated cover. Yeah, I can understand that. I was a little bit nervous about, because my cover artist who does these are like photo manipulations, but she's very good at it. They don't look like they don't look fake. They aren't like computer generated. They're actually like photos that she paints over. So I can't do anything like that. So the covers that I make for myself tend to be object generated covers because I can fiddle with an object and make it look painted, but I have no idea what to do with people. I hired a small indie artist for my latest upcoming novel, Beneath a Moonless Sky. Ooh, nice! I hope that the experience went well, Anne, because I've never had a bad experience working with my cover artist. But I know there's a bunch of different, people have different stories all the time. Ooh, it's an anime-ish artwork cover. Ooh, that's nice. I like that style. I just can't afford it. Your Celestial covers are really beautiful. Thank you. I take no credit for them. I basically send my cover artist like a block of text, and she sends me back these gorgeous pictures of my characters on covers. And the Space City I particularly like because that's actually a really important part of the book, and she just absolutely nailed it from my description. So her name is Molly Phipps. Her website is We Got You Covered. So I can bring it up. Ooh. It's right here. We Got You Covered bookdesign.com. She's amazing. If you check out her portfolio, you can actually see a bunch of my covers on the custom section. So she does both object covers and character covers. I've already booked her for next year for the last bit of the Celestial Serenade. And I'm kind of scrolling through them a bit rapidly here, but you can see that my covers are in there as well. And she also did my Dream Things True covers there. She does a lot of different styles, as you can see, so highly recommend. She's amazing to work with. Super chill, super professional. Angelique, hello. How are you holding up in your AC-less worlds? Because my good friend Arthur Anderson here is now suffering the same thing that we suffered earlier in the month, which is no AC, and in a place that's hotter than where we live. Barefoot Turtle, hello. I need to update my portfolio. I work at a print shop, so all my work has been there. Ooh, nice. Kiki, hi. Yes, please do check Molly out. She is amazing. Sorry, I'm catching up here. Especially since my characters aren't white, so they would be harder to find. It is harder to find models that are not white sometimes, and I was worried about that when I sent some descriptions to Molly for one of my characters in particular, but she found some really good models, and I'm just super happy with them. So the nice thing about like someone like Molly, who is a professional cover artist, is that she actually is subscribed to all the like really expensive high quality photo sites like Adobe, so she's able to have access to resources that I don't have access to, and that definitely helps. Can't wait to chat, Flutter. I can't wait to chat as well. Dreaming of cold places. Oh man, I feel you. I did a lot of that when ours was broken as well. Would totally use her if I didn't have an artist that I've been working with for years. I love your cover artist too, though, Angelique. She does gorgeous, gorgeous work. And that's the thing, is if you find someone that you gel well with, that you work really well with, it's very, very valuable to have. And thank you so much for the lurk. Enjoy. Hopefully we'll have some beautiful stuff for you to look at when you come back. Or in the background while you're working. So yeah, I definitely enjoy working with another cover artist, but like I said, I just don't quite have the budget to hire Molly for all of my covers. I would love to, honestly, if I could afford to have her do 6 covers for me every year, 100% would not spend the time stressing over this like I am right now. But yeah, I am, because I have a limited budget. So she's also one of my dearest friends because I can't seem to separate business from friendship. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, I'm very fortunate that I have, for the most part, worked with people who were friends with me and who were able to understand, are able to understand this is the friendship part of our relationship and this is the business part of our relationship. And I feel pretty confident being able to talk to people about things and not necessarily have it bleed over into business, but I know that not everyone is able to do that, and unfortunately in the indie world you do run into a lot of hurt feelings because people were friends first and then money starts to get involved, and it's hard. Boundaries can be hard. And the onus is on both sides, right? To be able to treat something that way. I have no idea what you're talking about. So yeah, no, it is what it is. I also have had some friendships fall by the wayside because people weren't able to necessarily distinguish between when it was time for something to be business related versus when it was time for something to be friend related, right? And you learn the hard way sometimes. When you're doing everything for yourself, you learn the hard way that, one, you either need to start treating it as business pretty early on if you want to avoid hurt feelings, or two, there are some people who are going to expect things from you for free because they know you, and sooner or later you're going to have the awkward conversation with them. Like I said, I'm very fortunate that the majority of the people that I've worked with, most of the people that I worked with very closely, when it was time to have that conversation, were like, oh yeah, no, you'd be paid, right? Because they too were trying to start small businesses and understood. I will say that I think the indie community is a very tight-knit community, in part because we're all doing it ourselves. We all know what it feels like to work your butt off on everything, to have to do all the writing and all the editing and all the formatting and all the designing and all the advertising and all the planning and all of the organization. Is basically like 5 full-time jobs. So I think the indie community becomes very tight-knit, and the writing community in general as a result becomes very tight-knit because everyone understands that how much goes into making something. But you will encounter people who just kind of want to get free work, unfortunately. About having to do all the things, yes. It's a lot, and I don't want to say, I'm not even trying to say that indie publishing is more work than traditional publishing, because traditional publishing is a lot of work too. The difference is that you find somebody to help you do the designing and the publication and the marketing part. But the emotional and physical, let's be honest, effort of querying is just as stressful, just as hardcore as, me putting together my own books or me putting together my own ad campaigns. The stress is sort of front-loaded a bit more, I think, with traditional publishing, because once you're able to find an agent and or publisher or whatever, you have someone to help guide you through kind of the rest. But I will say that I think being an author is a relentless march of idea, craft, selling, whether or not you are publishing for yourself or using a traditional publishing method, because it never stops. if you're wanting to live off your royalties, you're always going to be wanting to put more out there. So yeah, we're all, and my whole thing is we're all in this together. We're all working our butts off. We're all taking maybe different paths, but we're all going to the same place. And if we help each other as much as we can and be supportive and friendly and helpful as much as we can, then we're easing that journey for somebody, right? So that's my personal thought. We're gonna fiddle with the colors on here now and see if we can get it, because I don't want to use green. We've already used green. One color that hasn't really come onto any of these covers through the circle has been blue. I would like to see if I could get something blue, but what I'm noticing is every time we go for blue, we get a little bit purple. And we do have purple covers already, but we have some options in that spectrum. We're gonna go along the other way and just see. I'm not using the colorize function yet. I'm trying to see just naturally adjusting the hue along the spectrum, what options I have. I don't know that I'm entirely happy with any of the two-tone. The benefit of using, say, the colorize is that I'm going to get a true blue. The other color I kind of wanted to go for was a dark, dark green, but again, it's kind of hard to get without crossing over into a color that we've already used. This is kind of the closest, some kind of blue-green there, and then we sort of get into blue-purple. So what I can do is I can hit the colorize button. It's going to get a little bit wonky here. We can pull up the saturation to get the color we want. And then we can sort of go in here and try to get a really nice, vibrant blue. Which I do kind of like. So we can get a dark, dark one, or we can go for the sort of, I really like that. I don't actually think that looks bad. I maybe kind of like that. It's 218. Now we want to go look again if we start playing with the blending modes, what that looks like with different backgrounds. So if we go for the way we originally had it set, it's only just like a ghost of an image. I actually like that, although it's almost invisible. Difference is always very interesting. And then we get sort of a hard background, but a very washed out color with the luminosity. I'm actually gonna try, this is something that I've kind of learned to fiddle around with a little bit too, is I'm gonna leave it unblended, and I'm going to see what happens if I put a second copy of the layer over top of the first one. this might allow me to create some interesting effects by layering the same layer over top of it. So, for example, if we use, that's not actually making that big of a difference, which is disappointing. But let's see if we can get something out of some of the other ones. So, like, there we get a brighter sort of wash on the color. Not sure if you've played with the idea, but you can duplicate that layer and stack transparency filters. Yes, exactly. That's what we're gonna do now. Barefoot Turtle, you are on my wavelength. That is exactly what we're gonna do. Actually, I sometimes stack it. I stack 2 or 3 of these sometimes, depending on what I'm trying to do. And I honestly, before I make any decisions on like what the final is gonna look like, I just fuck around with it a lot. So I might make it look cool 2 or 3 times before I pick something. I actually kind of like this with the screen because I like that sort of frosted brightness with the dark background contrast because it actually looks like it's glowing. So that's one option. I'm gonna actually write this down. Just so that in an hour when I'm like, how did I make it look cool that one time? I actually have a reusable notebook where I can write this down. I'm a graphic designer and that sums up what I do. Play till you find something you like. First of all, mad respect to Barefoot Turtle because I do not have your skills. So I appreciate that you are here giving me advice and putting up with what is probably going to be a lot of mistakes. But also, it's nice to know that. It's nice to know that it's a lot of experimentation. So this is a normal back and a screen top. I do like that. So that's one option that I can come back to. I wouldn't be sad if that's what ends up on the cover. Don't know if that's where I want to stop, but I do like that. That's not really making much in the way of difference. Ooh, we could just have a giant black smudge. Alright, so if we come back to... so this is something else that we can fiddle around with a little bit, isn't it? We have the screen overlay, as we can run through these again and see if we like something else. Black smudge for the win. I think the only difference between us would be I might have found out how to do what I like and use those skills repeatedly. That makes sense. Laurel Tabby, thank you so much for the resub. I really appreciate it. How are you today? What are you up to? But yeah, that makes sense. Barefoot Turtle is like, I just randomly am screwing around with settings, but you probably actually know where to look to find the thing that you want to do. And I've learned a couple of things over the course of doing these covers, so I know where to look for some things. But if it's not something that I've done before, now I wonder how different that is. Interesting. Not very. See, I like that, but it's a bit too washed out. I don't know if it's defined enough. Oh no, I'm sorry you got an ad, Barefoot Turtle. I said, you were saying that you may have found out what you like and use those skills repeatedly. I said that makes a lot of sense. Like, you probably know, like, oh, I want to make it look this way. You probably know where the setting is to find that, whereas me, I'm just kind of like, hey, let's try this slider and see what that does. How are you? Just vibing right now, but gonna do some writing? I'm doing pretty good. Feeling pretty good. Things have been slightly less chaotic the last few days, knock on wood. I shouldn't say that out loud, but knock on wood, it stays that way. Since we got the AC fixed, things have been a little bit more on the level. Ghost Pepper has finished his medication that he was on, so he's starting to feel a little bit better as well. I'm sure Victoria would agree. Victoria actually made this beautiful what's it called? Overlay. Words are hard, yo. This beautiful overlay that I'm using right now. Honestly, I'm in awe of people who actually know like how to use programs like Photoshop, because I have like I can do things with it, but I have a very narrow understanding of how it actually works and where things are like actually found. See, again, I really like that smoky thing, but it's just not quite defined enough. That's cool too if I could make it darker. I do like that. I'm not sad about that. Noise. I'm also trying to make sure I'm not, like, making it unreadable. I feel like I just stared at the bright spot in the middle of the screen so much, and I need to, like, turn my eyes away and look at something else for a few minutes. Got that, like, digital dazzle that you get from looking at a bright screen. I'm alright with Photoshop, but primarily use Illustrator. I am lost in Illustrator. I know, like, nothing about it. I'm actually using, like, a shit old version of Photoshop as well. I think if I used the new version of Photoshop, I would be, like... It would feel like a completely different language to me. Skip ahead a little bit on that. Change up the music a little bit. Yeah, I'm worried. I'm worried I'm washing it out a little too much. It looks readable on that screen, so yeah, we can always fiddle with it later. Let's see. Now see, that is a thing where it's gonna wipe out, it's gonna wash out those little swirls that are in the center with the exposure turned up that high. Might leave the exposure off. Or I could bump it down. Still here, just lurking? Appreciate it, Anne. Enjoy. They're surprisingly similar. I would believe that. I'm one of those people where, like, I mean, first of all, just use an old version of a program until it stops working because I don't like updates. But also, if something is even, like, a little bit changed, I get lost, like, super easy. And I'm just like, I don't understand these functions. How does it work? Back to lurk for a bit. Thanks for lurking, Snaz. Appreciate. I'm actually gonna do something a tiny bit radical, which is I'm going to, now that I have something that I like, that looks good, I'm gonna turn that off and pretend it doesn't exist and go actually all the way back to the beginning. And screw around with it again. Because I do like what this is doing. I don't know if I could get it to do anything. I can't get it to do anything with that. But I am intrigued. I'm gonna start with this and see what happens if I give it a bit of saturation, but I also want to look at the other covers for a hot second. I like to sometimes just come back and look at the other covers and make sure. So most of them have that transparent background, but that one has the solid background. The Bond Between Sisters has that really solid. It has that solid background that you can't see through. So does that one. That one's transparent. This one's kind of in between. I wonder what happens if I just screw with the colors here. And if I colorize, I'm gonna get something really monotone out of that, I would assume. Monotone, monochromatic, you know what I mean. That does kind of look cool though. I'm not gonna lie, that kind of looks really cool. If I set it on, I'm writing this down, you guys, so I can redo it if I need to. And if I set it on subtract, Because that gives us a really nice blue right there. It's washed out a bit in certain places, but that gives us a really nice blue. Looks really nice too. And that's with the subtract. But now I wonder what that would look like with that underneath it. It's a little bit too much. Now that brings it out a bit more. Whoops. I like that, but I think I'm still leaning towards... Still leaning towards this. Let's do... I think I'm gonna go with this. I think this might be what we go with. can also... Whoop. No, it's not doing what I want it to do. That's what I wanted anyway. I wanted this one. Yes, I can make it like... I can make it a giant... We found out how to make it a giant white smudge too, guys. You can make a suggestion if you want. A barefoot turtle. I don't know that I will if I will ultimately be able to do it or not, but sure. Started. So terrible. Oh, so the way that this font works is that it's always like that. It's always closer to the bottom than to the top. If you notice. So I have to keep it fairly consistent with the other books, but I can bump a couple extra pixels. I can bump a couple extra pixels into it. Yeah, I kind of... Obviously, when I made the first one, I knew less about what I was doing than in this one, so... And because I didn't really understand how the font... this is Sinsel, which is a variable... The letters aren't always the same size with Sinsel. I can't say... Sinsel. So I didn't really understand as much, so if I was making these covers now, there are definitely little tweaks like that I would do, but I can't make it too much different from the other ones because brand recognition, blah blah. But hopefully that looks a little better. I have tried to pull it up off, because I know in this one it's like right on there, but I've tried to sort of mitigate some of that with the other covers, so hopefully it looks the same enough, but not, you know, not triggering. I should have written down what that looked like. 'Cause I want to... Oh, right, it's gonna undo. You know what? Maybe I think we'll just be happy with that for now. I can see what this would do. It's just gonna affect the blue, really. We might leave it here. It's sufficiently different to... the colors of the other covers, and because we have... Because we have the, green in the background, it's not too monochromatic. I'm so indecisive right now. Alright. Probably gonna take a quick break here in a minute to go steep some tea because I've been working on this actually quite a bit longer than I thought. Dang, that doesn't actually look terrible. Actually kind of looks cool. But I don't want purple because I've already used purple. I'll just change it, but if you didn't know, you can highlight some letters. You can adjust them up or down without moving the other letters by using the big A, little a selector. Can I move my overlay? I assume you mean this? This is how I've been doing it. I don't know if... I think you mean this one. I did not know that. Okay. Oh, set baseline shift. Okay. No, I did not know that. So would that be like, would I choose that and then change it here? What does that do? I don't know if that did anything. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just... Oh! This changes everything! I can think of so many places where that's useful! What? Well, thank you, Barefoot Turtle. I learned something very useful today. And I will be using that in the future. I had no idea. Thank you so much for the tutorial. What am I trying to move? I think I just moved something on my OBS that I didn't want to move. Just get this back in screen. I honestly, I don't know what a lot of these are. I've discovered some of the other things like completely by accident. I do images for my blog, where knowing that the baseline thing is going to be so helpful and is going to save me so much time. Oh my gosh, thank you. That just blew my mind. Okay, so yeah, so the next thing is not that. There's these little swirly doodads in the middle here. Ooh, dang! That was, not intentional, but I kind of like that. That or multiple text boxes. Right. Oh, thank you, Janine. I would love to take credit for anything that is happening, but I've mostly accidentally stumbled on making this look good, so I wonder if I leave it like that and turn the exposure back on. We'll see. I'm gonna fiddle with I'm gonna go once through these, and then I'm gonna go make myself some tea. Ghost Pepper, if you're listening to the stream right now, do you want tea? Please respond. If you're writing it down, then it's science. There have been notes that have been taken on settings that look good. Also, hey, Immersive Designs, how are you? I feel so, I don't want to say, like, intimidated, but, like, nervous, because I know that there are, like, a bunch of people watching right now who actually know more about this stuff than I do, and I'm just sitting here, like, and then I do this thing? Ghost Pepper, would you like some tea? I'm going to be making tea in a minute here, and I would love to bring you, or at least make you some that you could come up and grab. A pastoral type cover for your book, Janine, or for this one? I would love some. I'm assuming you want the second steep of your Power Berry, Ghost Pepper. Doing all right, but also just about to run. Have a great night. Well, thank you for stopping by, Immersive Designs. I really appreciate it. I love stumbling on making things look good. Yeah, I mean, honestly, most of these covers are just me fiddling around until something looks kind of the way I want it to look. I didn't consider the dark background before. I haven't really done that for any of these, but it might be cool. Because that does look kind of cool. Not gonna lie. That looks cool too. A pastoral type cover would work depending on the genre, Janine. Again, I feel like there's people in the chat who might answer that question better than me. I just kind of faff around until I'm like, yeah, that looks like decent. G Chili, hello, how are you? What are you up to? Also, friends, G Chili is a fellow author as well. I like that one too. Now that one would probably be hard to change, but I wonder if I can... I kind of really like this area here. I wonder if I can fiddle with that. Make it look bluey. Look at that! Look at that! And then I could actually just... I don't know, I kind of really like that. Not gonna lie, I kind of really like that. Looks so cool. Thank you, J Chili. We're just kind of screwing around with stuff until we get it to look good. For YA superhero science fantasy, I think having the characters in a mix of country city might work. Absolutely, yeah, for sure. I think that the background, like any background that feels like it works in your setting, I think you can get away with. And I have on here, we have a couple different backgrounds. So like we have a city background, and then we also have like a forest background, and then we just, for this one, we just even have stars. So you can swap out backgrounds pretty good. Need some explosions and bald eagles. No bald eagles for sure. Woof, that won't be happening. It's not set in a single city. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if it's more than one book, you can just change the background for like every, because like I have a different background for every book on mine. Eating potatoes? What kind of potatoes? Are they baked, mashed, boiled in a stew? Gonna head to work. Kiki, thank you so much for stopping by. Really appreciate it. Sorry I've been so focused on what's happening on the screen. J Chili, OMG, thank you so much for the resub. 3 months. Holy wow. Excellent use of that rage sip. Bald eagles. Bald eagles are bust. I kind of really like this. I don't know if it will be our final setting for the background, but I kind of really like it. I think what I'm gonna do is, because we're gonna actually put something over top of this, like if you look, this isn't what we're gonna use, but if you look at from the original cover, this is the last sort of element, is we're going to actually put a crown in the center of everything, but this gives you kind of an idea of what the final one will sort of look like. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna save that even though it looks butts right now, is I'm gonna go make some tea for myself and Ghost Pepper Man, and then we're gonna come back and see if I changed my mind about that background. Because I could do what I did the last time. I could make a second version of that and sort of see if I liked doing something lighter. Bald eagles over the top. There will not there will not be bald eagles on this cover, and America doesn't even exist in this book, you guys. It takes place so prehistory that America is not a thing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to disappoint all the Americans in chat. Not yet, it doesn't. Exactly. Not yet. It's not there yet. You won't see it. Guys, if you need a stretch break, a drink, take your meds, whatever, grab something to eat, please do that in the break. I'm gonna be gone for possibly about 5 minutes. I might come back while the tea is steeping for a brief chat, but please use this time to take care of yourself, as I shall do, and I will be back for more fiddling around with this monstrosity in a few minutes. I'm back for a minute while the tea is steeping with some peanuts. Back. Hello, friends. USplash is good for photos? Yes. I use them as well. Not as often as Pixabay, but I actually got Pixabay open right here. Oh, I forgot I made it small. But I also use Unsplash and Pexels as well. Adobe does also have a free stock area. How has my day been? Pretty good, Woof. Pretty good. Got a lot of work done. And Ghost and I switched nights, cooking nights, so I don't have to cook tonight, which is nice. How have you been, Woof? How was the stuff at the library? Never heard of Unsplash? Yeah, check it out. They've got some high quality photos on there. Really good. Up here in the... I thought it was Unsplash, but it's Unsplash. Jay Chili, what have you been up to? What is the freestyle rap hero we deserve? Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, if I need something that I can't find on a free stock photo site, then I use Deposit Photos because I've bought tons of credits from there. Grocery shopping. I hate grocery shopping. We did our grocery shopping on yesterday, actually. Wednesday. We usually do it on Sunday, but we were like, nah. I hope the errands have gone smoothly. It's good to get them out of the way. We usually do errand day. Chore and errand day is like Sunday. Been doing really well. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. I enjoyed lurking in your stream last night. I know I'm not always the most talkative, but I lurk in your streams a lot. I lurk in a lot of streams a lot. And I'm trying to get better about telling people that I'm there. I like grocery shopping until I see how much I spent on snackies. I like having groceries in my house, but I do not like going to the store. In fact, we don't go to the store to grocery shop anymore. We do click and collect. I do pretty much all of my grocery shopping from the comfort of my home. I don't have to deal with people stealing my cart. Finished the cover for Dante's project. Now I have 5 going at once. Holy wow. Laurel, that's a lot of projects. I hope they're going well, though. I hope you guys don't mind me crunching, but if you do, too bad. I'm gonna call out my lovely husband, Ghost Pepper. He doesn't like to eat on stream. So, when he wants a snack and he's streaming, he'll just grab a handful of peanuts and just eat them all, like, in one go. And chew them so that he's done eating by the time he gets back down to his computer. It's adorable because I can always tell when he's done it. Grocery stores there sound scary. I actually just don't... I don't like dealing with people. If I could go to the grocery store and be the only person in the grocery store, I'd be fine with that. But, yeah. We used to when we did shop in the store, we used to basically make a list and then we would divide it, and Ghost would go get half while I got half so we could get out of there as quickly as possible. His parents saw us grocery shopping one time and they thought it was hilarious, and we were like, we just don't want to be here. We just want to get out. 6 a.m. Yeah, the problem is that, like, when the person who drives in your household is a teacher, for the majority of the year, your option for going grocery shopping is Saturday and Sunday. If you don't want to do it in the evening. Which, who wants to do it in the evening? So now we click and collect. Ghost does not even have to interact face-to-face with anyone when he goes and picks up the groceries. He just calls them, pops the trunk, they stick everything in there. He drives home. That's great. I don't have to look. I have to run back and forth through the aisles. I don't have to deal with old ladies in the middle of the aisle. That's great. A teacher? Yeah, did you not know Ghost Pepper is a teacher? History, social studies, economics. Yeah, exactly. Click and collect is essentially curbside. They just call ours click and collect. You load up your thing online on the grocery store website, and you arrive at the appointed time. Sometimes they give you weird subs. Like, they've done things like when I ordered, because I have to order lactose-free cheese, right? So I ordered lactose-free cheddar, and they subbed it with lactose-free mozzarella. And I was like, mozzarella and cheddar are not the same type of cheese. You do not use them in the same situations. The world-famous Ghost Pepper is a teacher? He is. I thought he was a secret agent. Well, he wouldn't be able to tell you that. J Chili. Hang on. I hear him. Let's see if he wants to say hi. You want to say hi to chat? Ghost Pepper. You want to say hi to chat? See, J Chili says the world-famous Ghost Pepper is a teacher. I thought he was a secret agent.
Shh. You're not supposed to say that on stream.
I'm just reading chat.
Not much of a secret if Joe blabs.
Joe, you're not supposed to tell. I like how I asked him if he wanted to come say hi, so he found the exact space that he could stand so that his face wouldn't be in the camera to wave at you guys. Proof that me and Ghost Pepper live in the same house. The James Bond of Canada. I think my tea is probably done, so I'm gonna go finish off our tea. I will be right back with more cover stuff. Don't be alarmed, but there was a ghost behind you. It's like the skeleton. It's already in you. Thank you for stream. Everyone have fun. Do all the things. Have to run. Thank you so much for stopping by, Angelique. Super appreciate it. Take care. Good luck with the AC. Please let me know how it goes. Ghost lives in the walls. I shall BRB. Alright, I am back. For anyone who is wondering what today's tea is, it is a tea called Birthday Cake. It is from the Dollar Tea Club, which I am currently subscribed to this year as a Christmas gift from my lovely husband, Ghost Pepper. And it's pretty good. It's a black tea, but it's nice and sweet. Lilith is the chaos gremlin of Dante's world. Nice. We couldn't see his face. That could have been any random person. It was definitely Ghost. 100% can confirm. I saw his face. Even if you guys didn't. Okay, so I want to try... I should actually... Because I don't need these. I should actually... try one more. I want to try one more variation of these little swirlies and see which I like better. So I'm just going to do the same thing I did last time, where I'm going to duplicate the layer. I'm going to turn this one off. And I'm going to go back to normal. To a basically do this one, I think, and just see what it looks like. I'm gonna sneeze at some point here. Sorry, I hope that didn't spike the mic just then. I leaned away from it. The swirlies are pretty, thank you. Yeah, I just basically want to try sort of a light variation and a dark variation and see which I think works better. Just gonna try to make them a little bit more bluey here. Sorry, I gotta blow my nose because sneezing. I'll give you a cute little Dahmer to keep you company. Thank you for the blesses. I, of course, couldn't sneeze while I was AFK. I had to sneeze while I was on camera. Well, if I can't help but notice that you never give the wrong emote to anyone else but me. And that the emote was called Peepo Fake Love. As opposed to Peepo Gladrose. I'm just putting it out there. It was an accident, air quotes. An accident. Why is my camera so low? Did I must have knocked it down during the sneeze. Or after. So I kind of like these swirlies as well. A little bit more subtle. So we kind of have not quite bluey as I want. In that area. So we sort of have that option and that option. Kind of like them both. And that option, apparently. All right, so we have two options. I think they're both good options. So now what we need to do is find a crown. I always sneeze the loudest when at work. Yeah, it seems like, you know, sneezes in general just happen when you don't want to sneeze. Okay. Let's see what we can find in the way of crown. I did do some crown searching prior to, the stream, so I kind of know a little bit what I'm dealing with. I could use one of these vector images because the way I fiddle with it, it won't necessarily look like a vector after. I like this. I don't know if I can use it. I really like that, but that is a sponsored image, so I won't be able to use it. Let's just see what the options are. So I like that one too, but it would be hard to use. Aw, look at the cute frog with the crown. That's so cute. Now, I am not really adept at removing backgrounds from images, so I need something that is either really easy to clear out the background or already has a transparent background to it. Because I'm a bit of a pleb. So I'm sure some of you are watching and are like, I could remove the background from that in an instant. And I believe that. Kiss the frog, maybe it'll turn into a prince. That's what I was thinking too. I just actually watched The Princess and the Frog like a couple weeks ago on Disney Plus because I was just in the mood. I hadn't watched it in like forever. And I did that Dr. Facilier puzzle and I was like, I want to watch The Princess and the Frog. So I did. And Ray is my favorite, you guys. You know that they've made a really good story when you cry over a bug. And if you haven't seen The Princess and the Frog, all I'm gonna say is have tissues. Might try that one. Is it crowny enough? Is it crowny enough, though? I don't want one that's like the Queen of England shape. Like, I don't want anything that's too much like this. Because it's too immediately, like, recognizable as, like, Queen of England-y or, like, Popey. Leader! Hello! Welcome! Thank you so much for the raid. Been playing Minecraft. How is Minecraft? How is your stream? How is the day treating you? I don't know why peacocks are coming up when I searched crown, but okay. Okay. Actually want to do is switch this to vectors and see what that brings up. Today was great. Was playing some more modded Minecraft and made a ton of progress. Also made my brain mush. So what were you working on, Leader? Like, what was the project that was progressing today? Also, please don't mind me just scrolling through stock photos. We're looking for a crown to put into this cover. Back to page 1. This is an interesting one. Maybe. Making plastic. Interesting, which led me to be able to make garden cloches for growing resource plants, which required power, so I made a nuclear reactor. A nuclear reactor? That sounds like a big project. So it sounds like it was a very productive Minecraft day, is what I'm hearing. I'm not seeing any bald eagles. There's a bald eagle right here, but it's wearing a crown. J Chili. That being said, I'm gonna lurk as I've made the decision I'm gonna go get some ice cream. Nice! I mean, you just finished your stream, so you gotta go stretch your legs, get some food. Enjoy! Thank you so much for dropping by. Really appreciate it. That's the one, J Chili. That's the one you've been wanting to see. Here's another one. Down here as well. Same one, a little bit more decorated. Aw, look, here's a frog without a crown. Aw, he's so sad. And one last, I want to flip 2 illustrations and just see what that looks like. Ooh, there's a unicorn one. Ooh, there's another unicorn one. Trying not to be too picky about the shape. We might end up trying that one, even though it's not necessarily crown-shaped. I really like this one. I just don't know if I can remove the background from it. It's not transparent. So let's try this. Let's try it. There's some background remover programs. Have you tried those? No. I don't know what they are. And if it's a really simple background that I can very easily select, then I can remove it myself. But otherwise, I have specified several times that I am a pleb when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, Wolf, you actually are one of the people who probably know more about this program than I do. In all honesty. That doesn't look terrible. Oh, okay. And we can potentially could curve it. I don't know how much we want to. Like, do we think it looks better to have it just, you know, like that? I kind of think that background looks better at the moment. I have an app that does it for me. I use it to make this emote. Oh, that's awesome! I usually just look for stuff that's transparent to start with. I don't hate that. It makes it look a little tentacly, which I kind of like. Kind of like that. I'm kind of liking how this is looking. What do you think, chat? How does the crown look? And does it need moved? Do we like the idea of tilting it? I don't know. I think that looks a little weird. Although I don't know if leaving it straight on is the best idea either. Could do like a small tilt like that. Again, I don't know if that looks good. Or if it looks better just straight on. What do we think? What do we think, chat? Does it just look better straight up and down? Don't know about the tilt. Yeah, the tilting looks... I feel like I'm not entirely convinced about it being straight up and down, but I don't know that tilting it is working either. This is where it would help if I actually knew, like, the rules of graphic design. Because, like, I've been told that you don't always want everything to be centered. You don't always want everything to be dead on. But I don't know that I feel like... I don't know that I feel like it works any other way. One other thing I want to do is fiddle with this. That looks pretty good. Or if we do it that way. They actually both look pretty good. Just out of curiosity. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with this. I think I'm pretty close to happy with this. There was the exposure layer that we had sort of turned down. I wonder if I could actually... I'm kind of happy with that. Still readable. I don't know, guys. I'm pretty happy with how this looks. I'm gonna go... My tea has gotten a little bit chilly, so I'm gonna go reheat that and walk away from this for a second and see if I think it needs anything else when I come back. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks pretty decent. I'm not gonna lie. It does get a couple finishing effects, which I wasn't able to do on stream last time. I had to kind of do the finishing for this one off stream because I couldn't get things to look quite the way I wanted them to. I think it looks really good. Thank you, Snozberries. I'm pretty happy with it. I might want to fiddle with the crown a tiny bit more. But it feels pretty cohesive. It feels pretty much like what I was sort of trying to go for. I could potentially make the crown... I could potentially make the crown smaller. I could do a something like a something, but I kind of like it touching the edges. Bard Owl, thank you so much for the bits. Yeah, I kind of think I like it. Like, that's what it looks like if I make the crown a little bit smaller. So we'll fiddle with that in a minute. Bard, how are you doing? What are you up to? Please let me know. I'm just gonna go reheat my tea quick. I'll just be AFK for like 60 seconds and then I'll be right back. back. Hey, Anne, still lurking. It's Purdy. Thank you so much. Just hanging out with Carly, deciding what we want to play. Nice. Well, good luck deciding, because I am personally bad at decisions, so those are always the hardest part of anything for me, really. I think I'm gonna fiddle. I think I'm gonna fiddle a tiny bit more with the crown. But then the last thing is that I just put some lens flares in. You can see that there are lens flares of some variety on all of the covers. But I have to merge the layers to do that. Also, lens flares used to destroy my computer before I upgraded my hard drive, but it actually goes pretty quickly now, so... But we're getting pretty close to the end here. This one went much smoother than the last one, wherein we spent 3 hours on just the magic circle part. So I think what I want to do is I want to make the crown a tiny bit smaller. So we have that. And I think I might go one smaller still. Yeah, like that, which I know is not a huge difference between there and there, but I do think it makes... a bit of a difference. Kind of looks like you're looking into, like, a bubble with a crown in it, if that makes sense. Kind of what I'm sort of going for. Well, let's just ate ice cream and is now hyper and running around as a metal trash can. Interesting. Sounds like fun. Well, for her. And now, I just want to fiddle a teeny bit. Fiddle a teeny bit with some of our necessarily sure that these will do anything, but well, we know that one will do something, but just sort of because I feel like it needs a tiny itty-bitty little something. I'm not entirely sure what, though, so I'm just sort of touching buttons, touching things. Touching things, touching things. Touching butts? I mean, of course that's what you heard, Woof. I'm just touching buttons to try and see what, if anything, I want to do with this. Ah, look, we can just make it white. I actually do kind of like that with a little bit of the sort of frosted silver touch to it. So we might do, oh, and then we can just make it all black as well. Which actually doesn't look horrible. I do like it a little bit frosted there. To what extent do I want to? Also, if I do it on the lower level, does it work better? No, it just kind of bleeds the saturation out of it if I do it there. The lighter color makes it stand out better. Yeah, I like... Whoops, I forgot to change layers. I do like the effect of... Because I don't want it to be too monotone, right? So let's see. Just see how far. So that feels like a little too far. What do we think about that? So that's the original, and that's the change. I like that, actually. I like that a lot. Probably needs to go on here. No, it's not. That's not what I want to do. Such a small change. I don't think it's really... I think I might leave it here. Coming together. Thank you, Janine. I think it's almost done. I think I'm pretty much at the point where I need to stop fiddling with it, because I think anything I do to it now, I don't want it to get too busy. It feels like it's readable. I'm looking at it on both screens because it's smaller on the stream preview. It looks pretty readable. It looks like it has a good amount of color. It looks like it has a good amount of contrast. I feel like the elements fit together in a pleasing way. So I feel like we're at the end. I'm just gonna reopen. So we started with started with this file, so I just want to make sure that I did not write over it. I didn't. Very good. Not that it matters because I didn't delete any of the actual things, but just to make sure. And then I just have to go back and forward to make sure I can find this one in here. And then we're looking for the Empire of Eternity. Perfect. So it's saved, there is a master file, it's all good. So now basically what I have to do is I have to flatten the image and I have to add the lens flares. And then that's it. It'll be 100% ready to go out. It'll exist for publication day. I'm pretty happy with this, actually. I never quite know how these are going to turn out until they're done. So basically, I'm going to do a save as first, actually. Let me check the image size, because it's huge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an image size, and we're going to bump this down to 1,000. 1,000, not 100. So that we don't completely overtax my computer trying to do the lens flares. So this is what it looks like at its actual size. Very crisp. I do like that. I'm going to zoom out a little bit there. We're going to save this as a PNG. And it is going to be Empire of Eternity. Size 1,000. And then we are not going to save the changes because we want to have a big-ass copy of the file. In case I ever want to go in and change things, I keep the version with all the layers. I'm thinking at some point I might have to go back and change the spacing of some of the title wording on some of the earlier covers. Now that I know an easy way to do that, it just depends on when I feel like fighting with Amazon to re-upload everything. But now we should have a copy in here. Perfect. Excellent. This part's a bit of a pain in the butt because it's very difficult to aim. So I apologize in advance if I get growly. Any suggestions for my own cover? I mean, without reading it, it's hard to say, but I would say pick a, pick sort of a visual, template, right? So when I did these, I sort of centered everything around the magic circle. I wanted the magic circle to be sort of the identifying thing on all of the covers. So if you look at the covers for this series, they all have that distinctive circle in the center, right? And then later I of course decided to put things inside the circle so that it wouldn't seem empty and like there's a lot of symbolism involved in the choice, but I sort of picked the core element, the sort of attention getter for the cover as the rune circle. So I would say think of something like that, like envision a cover that when you look at it, there's a core sort of idea that catches the eye, that you can sort of modify across each cover, right? Because you want each series cover to feel unified in some way. So like you notice for my, for these, they're object-oriented covers. They all have the circle, the rune circle in the center, and the objects inside. And then for these covers, they all center on the characters, right? The characters are the main focus in the foreground, and then there's something sort of smaller and less significant happening in the background. So sort of, if you wanted like the background to be the main thing for your cover, then figure out like how you would frame the background in a way to make it seem special, right? Find that sort of like core concept eye-catching thing. And it could be like the symbol, like if you're writing superheroes, it could be like the symbol for a different superhero could be in the center of each cover. And then there could be like a background behind it, which is like a setting or something like that. It could be the character, it could be their symbol, it could be not necessarily their specific symbol, but like an object from the story that's important to the character, the main character for that book or whatever. And I would say center your design around that, right? So that you sort of have a template that you can easily plug different things into for each cover so that they look unified in terms of their branding but can still feel unique. I hope that makes sense. I hope I explained that at all well. I feel like I don't. I feel like I barely understand this stuff myself, so I feel like I often describe it poorly, but hopefully that made sense. Alright, so now we have lens flares. Part of me regrets that I ever put lens flares on the first cover because now every cover has to have a lens flare in order to feel unified, but we're on book 8 that needs a lens flare, so lens flare. So the first thing is I have, you can see, I have this tiny little thing. I can't make it bigger. I have to aim my lens flare for where I want it. I retest. That's not bad aim. That is not bad aim. And then I'm just gonna test each of the type of lens flares. Because they all look slightly different. To see which one I think goes best. That one sort of reaches clear across. It's a little crisper. And you notice, you might not be able to see on the stream, but there's a little bit of the lens flare that comes like down into, like the lens flare is here, but then it's also here and here. Dante's story involves cursed evil skull with red crystals, so I found an image that has a lot of red and skull for her cover. Makes sense, makes total sense. It's more just sort of brightness. I think most of them have ended up being the movie Prime, because it gives those little, it gives these little cross hatches. I think most of the covers have ended up having those cross hatches on them. You can see here and here. And then with this one, we've got it here. I think it's just because they end up being very visual. Now I might actually move that one down. So for this one, I might actually do... I think I like this one. I think we're gonna go with that as the first one. And then I might try to slip a smaller lens flare in down here so that we get that cross hatch. So let's do that. And then we will do... That's pretty bang on. I might move it ever so slightly to the side, but that looks pretty good. I might make this one slightly smaller as well, actually. So I might make the brightness for this one 70%. There we go. I like that, actually. I think that looks good. And I think that might be it. If I go actual pixels, we can see, just make sure everything at full size looks good, but it looks pretty smooth. It looks pretty crisp. It's pretty readable. I like to keep it somewhat zoomed out because you can tell what it is going to look like a bit smaller. And then if I zoom out even more, we want it to be readable from pretty small. So even if we go down that small, you can still identify the branding, you can still read the title and see the author name. I think it's really beautiful. Oh, thank you, Snozberries. It turned out much differently than I imagined. Like, when I imagined this cover, this isn't exactly how I imagined it turning out, but I like it. I really like it. I think the elements work well. And like I said, it's readable at a bunch of different sizes. It has that identifying branding. And if we kind of look at it, like, beside, here's the, like, here are some other covers from the series as well, sort of, so we can get some side-by-side views, and you can sort of see how it goes, how it looks similar but different with other books sort of in the series as well. So you get that sort of nope. You get that, what are you doing? What have you done? We get that sort of unified branding there of everything. Oh, you guys can't quite see this one. But yeah, they all just kind of fit together, but are also unique. That's sort of what you want to go for if you're thinking about writing a series, if you're thinking about self-publishing it and making your own covers and whatnot. One thing that I sort of learned the hard way and didn't really do when I first started publishing was you really want to have a sort of unified look for your covers. You want them to... My computer's doing something. What is it doing? I don't know if you can hear that, but that is my computer doing something. It doesn't like bees, apparently. What are you doing? Alright. I don't know what I was trying to do, but something about the photo viewing thing was not, it was not happy about. It's alright now, though. Okay. But yeah, and then if we open it up outside of Photoshop, we can see essentially what it looks like. The final one looks like. Now I'm all paranoid that my computer is gonna try something. What was it doing? My goodness, can't hear it, but my comp has a noise it likes to make as well. I imagine it could be similar. It definitely just the CPU started working really hard. Neon Medusa, thank you so much. I think they look awesome. I appreciate that. Your computer said no. I feel like I clicked on a wrong button on here and Windows started to do something, and even after I told it not to do it, it was still trying to do it, which, you know, typical Windows. But yeah, so this is it. This is what we have crafted. This is the thing that we have made. And then basically what I'm gonna do is I've already saved it I like to reopen things to make sure that they've actually saved. So we've already saved it as, where is it? So we've already saved it as a PNG. Now I'm going to save it as a JPEG for Amazon. If you are self-publishing to Amazon, it only lets you upload JPEGs for some weird reason I'm not sure of. So now we have a version of that, which is ready to go on Amazon. And then if I do image size, if we take this down to 600, that is going to be for the blog. Whoops, 600, not 6,000. And then you can basically see that I've created sort of my seed images. You can see that I have like a million different sizes for each cover. That's because depending on what social media site I'm uploading to, or like what announcement, like I have a different one that I use on my blog, one that I use on my website, one that I use in my newsletter, and I have specific sizes. So you notice that I just eventually end up with a bunch of different ones, but here we have our 3 core versions of that cover ready to go. And that's pretty much it. We did it! We did a whole cover from beginning to end. Also, Neon Medusa, how are you? What are you up to today? Thank you for dropping by. I'm really happy with how this stream went compared to the last one, because the last time I tried to do a cover on stream, I couldn't get it to look the way I wanted it to look, and I just got really frustrated with it, and I don't know that it made for a good stream, because I ended up having to go back and finish it off stream. But this one, we did the whole thing. We started right from the ground up, and we did the whole thing, finishing and all, and I'm really happy that you guys got to see it. It's Bree, Sassy Tink Tink. Hey, Sassy! Hope you've been well. Is it Bree or Bri? I should ask that. But hey! I've been doing Bree. Okay, good. I had it right the first time. It's been pretty crazy. While you were away, our central AC unit busted, and we were a week without AC. But we have AC now. Everything is now working. We are cool again. It's good. So things have been much better now. This week has been much better, and today has been pretty good. We made a cover. We just made this cover today on stream. You killed it? Yeah! Look at that stabby berry. We did it! Vinyl, thank you! That means a lot to me, coming from you, Vinyl, because I think you're way more of an artist than I am. So if you think it looks good, that is a relief to me. I take that as sincere. I'll be doing one more name change to Bree Wright, so you guys will know who I am. Nice! Thank you for letting me know, because I would have probably just assumed you were a whole new person, and then you would have been like, oh no, it was Sassy all along, and I would have felt horrible. So, because I'm so bad with names. Megan can keep her cool now. Yes. Oh my god. Last week, trying to plan my streams around the weather and the installation and just everything else that was happening last week was just such a crazy week. But we did kind of luck out when our AC was broken. The weather was pretty cool. It rained a lot, and so it would basically rain for a day, cool down for a couple days, and then get really hot. But they had loaned us a portable AC that would cool down one room in the house, and ghost peppers in the basement, right? So it worked out okay. It could have been way worse. I will be the first to say it could have been way worse. We had one really, really bad day because they weren't able to loan us the portable yet, and it was like 30 degrees, and I almost died. I was really feeling it. But we lucked out. It's much hotter this week than it was last week, and now we're cool. We've got an AC unit that works. Book cover is beautiful. Thank you so much, Sassy. Or Bree. I guess I should get in the habit of calling you Bree. So I apologize if I say the wrong name like 50 times. Please correct me. That's why I haven't popped in a while. The name changes. No worries. I always figure that people get busy. I know I'm in and out a lot too. And such a beautiful cover. Thank you, Anne. I appreciate it. I'm so glad that this one you guys got to see the final product, like I said, because I had to finish the last one off stream and I felt kind of bad for the people who had been waiting for like the whole 3 hours for me to figure out my shit. So this time you guys get to see the full thing. It's a little bit, I guess it's a little bit small because we're looking at it. I can, no, I don't want to save the changes. We're looking at it in Photoshop, but if I can open a slightly bigger version of it for you guys. I'm really happy actually with how it turned out, so I can get it fully to fit on the screen. Perfect. I'm so pleased that you guys got to see the whole. I love the colors. Thank you. It's kind of accidental in some ways just because the elements that I was kind of going for came together in that order. But yeah, I like it. Blue was a cover, blah, 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 a color that I wanted to get on the covers a couple times. But every time I tried to do blue in the past, it didn't really work with the background that I picked. This one, the Tales of the Exiles, I originally wanted this circle to be dark blue, but when I tried to make it dark blue, it just looked really, it wouldn't get there, and it looked really bad because it was too much. It was like blue on turquoise. So I ended up going with the gold colored one instead. So blue was sort of the first color that I was aiming for with this one because it was sort of the finisher for the rainbow. Because that was one of the goals I set for myself, was that I would sort of do different color of the rainbow for each magic circle on each different cover. So I'm glad that the blue finally worked out because this is not the first time I've tried it. And it finally got it to look really good, and I think it suits the events of the book really well too. Thank you. Yeah, I just had a sort of vague, when I came up with the cover ideas for Dynasty 1220, hello, welcome. This book cover is giving me heavy Percy Jackson vibes. Oh, that's awesome. I mean, it's also a mythology based series, so that's awesome. I'm glad that it kind of evokes that same sort of mythological vibe. Yeah, one of the, like, I had a very few goals when I set out to do these covers, and it was that I wanted to kind of go through the colors of the rainbow with the magic circles, and I wanted to avoid using the same exact color twice. So I think I did a pretty decent job with that. And also the other thing, if you notice, you might not be able to tell from the small versions, but there's a lot of elemental theme too. So like we have water, we have fire, we have ice on the background of this one. And of course we have lightning on the Bond Between Sisters, and so this one is sort of another sort of airy one, because I had gotten earth in there a few times, so now we sort of have like the airy, but it also has some of the earthy elements with the leaves as well. So those were the kind of the things that I was looking for getting into each cover, and I think I covered them pretty good. I love crowns and sparkly things, so I might be biased. Hey, I love crowns and sparkly things too, and I specifically saved the crown for this book. So it's really, I'm glad that I found one that actually worked so well, because I was worried that I wouldn't be able to find a like sparkly gemmy one. I was worried it would have to be more plain. So I think I kind of lucked out. Shiny and sparkly are my calling? Yes! Yes! Literally a beautiful cover. You guys, you're being so good to me. Been getting used to my new job schedule too. I get up at 5 a.m. every day. Oh my gosh. Brie, I couldn't do that. That's amazing. I can't function before 8 in the morning. But that's awesome. Being finished work by 2 p.m. probably leaves you a lot of options in terms of like other things that you can do throughout the day. But starting to get up at 5 a.m., like be up and aware at 5 a.m. is hard. Because my husband, Ghost Pepper, used to do that. He used to work at a bakery and he had to get up at 5 in the morning to be at work for, I think he actually was started work at 5:30, and it was brutal. You get used to it eventually, but those first couple weeks are just brutal. So I hope that has been going better. I think I got everything. If I missed something, if I missed something that you guys said and you want to repeat it, please feel free. What's more important to you when you're creating a book cover, color or design? So the most important thing, I kind of mentioned this before, but if you look, you can kind of see in the backgrounds, in the previews here. If you're writing a series, the most important thing is sort of a unified brand. So every book cover in that series should be instantly identifiable as part of that series because it's unified in some way. That could be, like, mine is this template with the magic circle and the objects. Makes it feel unified. It could be like a specific color palette that you're using. It could be, like, we used a different template here where we have, like, 2 characters, one in front of the other, and then we sort of have, like, all of the design elements come together to create something that feels unified. If you're writing a series, I would say that's the most important thing because you're creating a brand for your series, and you want it to be instantly noticeable when somebody sees that book cover that it's part of this familiar series. But that's not to say that color isn't important, because especially depending on the genre you write in, and I write in science fiction and fantasy, color can be very, very important with fantasy. You want something brightly colored that catches the eye, which is why, again, you'll notice that I have a lot of bright colors and high contrast in these because I'm trying to be very eye-catching with it. There's a lot of things that go into making a cover, but I sort of learned the hard way that the most important thing is to have that sort of unified feeling. So start there. Start with, like, a core concept that you can swap out elements of to make something that feels cohesive. If you're writing a standalone book, then I would say it's a bit different. You wouldn't necessarily be as concerned about the overall design because you're not going to be sticking with that design for the long term. If you're working with a standalone title, then I would say it would depend on the genre. You would want to sort of look at what is important in that genre and try to really nail the sort of type of cover. But color is, especially for fantasy, I would say sci-fi too, but especially in the fantasy genre, people do expect to see colorful titles. Dynasty, thank you so much for the follow. Super appreciate it. And how are you today? We're probably going to wrap up here in a few minutes. We're probably going to look for somebody to raid because dinner is going to be happening soon, which I'm excited about because I'm hungry. But yeah, I'm super happy with how this turned out. I'm going to be starting a new series on stream. I'm going to be actually plotting out and planning and like drafting a brand new series. I'm going to go through the whole process on stream, as much of the process as possible without being spoilery. And we're gonna have to do this whole thing that I was just talking about, because I'm gonna have to come up with how I want to handle the covers, because I'm done with this series now, so I can't use this specific cover template anymore. So I'm gonna have to come up with a new cover template, and hopefully later in the year, we're gonna do another similar stream where I fiddle around with and hopefully come up with a sort of template that I can use for those covers. But I'm super relieved that this one, because again, the last time I tried to do a cover on stream, it was 3 hours of me just trying to make a circle a certain color, and everyone was super patient, but I was like, I want you guys to be able to see the full thing. if it's an episodic type book series, what would you do for covers then? Same, like if it's a serial style, like find something that's simple, like a simple element cover, like that centers around objects or symbols. Something that's easy to create many variations of. And then you could even just, you could vary it by color, you could vary it by symbol. It's very important to have unified branding with any kind of ongoing release. Appreciate your explanation in regards to my question, so thank you for that, and I hope you have a great rest of your night. I'll make sure to tune in next time. Well, thank you so much, Dynasty. I'm glad I could help. And I really appreciate you asking, because actually that was the kind of stuff that I struggled with when I was first starting to do this. I keep forgetting I should move my mic closer to my mouth when I'm doing this talk. That was something that I really struggled with my first couple books. And my initial trilogy is not as unified in its branding as it really should be. I just kind of ran out of the ability to keep changing the cover a million times. So if you start thinking about that stuff earlier on in the process, if you have sort of a unified brand in mind, and even right down to, like, you guys may or may not have noticed this, but even right down to your titles. So you may notice that each of the books in Eternity's Empire follows a very specific title convention. So we have The Light of Eternity, The Soul of the Earth, Secrets of the Past, which is very specifically different, The Bond Between Sisters, The Family You Choose, Tales of the Exiles, and Tales of the Exiles and Secrets of the Past are very specifically slightly different in the pattern to indicate that those are books with flashbacks in them. And then we have The War for Freedom and The Empire of Eternity. So if you're thinking about things like that when you first start your series, it helps, because it's going to help you create sort of a unified brand. And it is more advanced stuff. It's not the kind of stuff that, like, I necessarily always used to think about when I was doing my early drafts. I used to just call a book whatever. But from publishing, I have learned that it's a good idea to have some kind of unification for a series, something that makes it feel cohesive, because then if somebody is scrolling through Amazon and they're familiar with my series and they see this, they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's that series that I thought was really cool. And they're hopefully going to click on it. So just little, I don't want to say mind hacks. I mean, these are things that marketing departments have used for ages, but it helps. It helps to get in the mindset of thinking about that stuff. Because I'm thinking of making Dante's series episodic, so I'm wondering. Yeah, for sure. Anything that's like serial, the more books are going to be in a series, like the more covers that are going to be in a series, the more you want to be able to simplify it, because it's going to be harder and harder to get variation. My cover artist warned me about that too when I told her there were 9 books in the Celestial Serenade. She was like, all right, we're going to need a template that that allows for a certain amount of variation. So I'm waiting for her when I go to her and say, I have a 15 book series. I'm waiting for her to be like, so object covers? So, like, if the first book involved a lone type of cursed evil object, maybe have them all involved cursed objects. Yeah, exactly. If you can. I mean, the objects that are on the Eternity's Empire covers, most of them are weapons that the characters use. So, the crystal here on the first one, on the Light of Eternity, this is Eternitas's mage focus, which is a central thing in the first couple of books. We simply have the Earth on the second book because the soul of the Earth, it's probably self-explanatory. But again, something that, an object, a planet, but an object that is of core relevance to the main character of that story. And then the rest of the objects, the daggers, the sword. Here we have a staff and a spear. That's the small version of that. A staff and a spear. And then we have the, for this one, we have the mirror and the bow. These are all the weapons of the main characters in the stories. They are objects of special significance that are mentioned time and time again within the story. And I just sort of picked which ones would go on which covers based on which characters were prominent in that particular series. So if you have a bunch of cursed objects that come up, something like that is a good thing to feature on your covers. And you don't necessarily have to change the story. So there's a different cursed object in each book. But the more you're able to pull an element like that out of the story, the easier it is to create that kind of unified sense of branding. So I'm not necessarily sitting here saying change your story so that you can do it that way. But if your story is structured that way, it'll make it easier to do object-based covers because you'll have a special object in each cover. And of course, the crown, probably self-explanatory as well, that this book involves determining the heir to a throne. So, crown. I was originally going to have something else in the center, but I think the crown works better, as we can see now that we've seen the final project. I am going to look for someone to raid. So if anyone has any preferences as to who they think we should drop in on. Let's see. Who is doing stuff? Yeah, and Laurel, if you have any more questions, because I know you know my Twitter, you can always shoot me a message, a question, a tweet on Twitter, because I know that you know my Twitter account. Or you can always ask in the Discord if anyone is on the Discord. And we do have a section in there looking for feedback where if you guys want to post concepts for covers and ask for, you know, feedback or advice, there's a spot for that as well. But I know that you know me on Twitter, so feel free anytime to shoot me a question and I will answer as soon as I see it. But let us see who is doing stuff today. Apparently Toasty Treat is doing some crafting. It looks like Talon Artho is doing some writing. So depending on what you guys want to do, I'm tempted to drop in on Toasty. It looks like she's painting. Doing some, I don't know if they're watercolor. I was going to say watercolors, but I don't actually know if they're watercolor. They are watercolors. Okay. It says in the description. Lol. Janine, I hope that anything that I said about creating covers was helpful for you. I know you've been trying to pin down a concept for yours. Again, if you come up with something and you want to ask in the Discord or on Twitter or wherever, please feel free to shoot me a message and I'll do my best to answer. Covers are hard, just in case anyone is like looking at these and being like, oh, you make it look easy. It's not. There's so many things to consider when you're making a cover. And I did not do it right for these are the second round of covers for this series as well. I actually have some paperbacks that are using the old covers, the old cover design, because I had a completely different type of, it was bad, but a completely different type of design for the first set of covers before I republished all of the books using this cover design. So don't feel bad if you're making your own covers and you have to make a few iterations before you hit on something that feels actually inspired. It's normal. It happens. There's a lot to consider, and you learn more each time you make a new cover. Obviously, if you're working with a professional cover artist, then they should know what to do and should be able to tell you, as my cover artist did with Celestial Serenade. But like I said, for the ones that I do myself, it's been a lot of trial and error. Ooh, we've got a hydrate. Meg, thank you so much. Birthday cake tea. And it's weird, but it tastes like a birthday cake. We are going to do a raid. I think we're going to drop in on Toasty so that we can get more chill art going on. I don't know entirely what my stream schedule is going to be for the next week, but I should be back on this channel on Monday doing more edits on the Aravalia Chronicles. So I will announce that, and I will update the About section with the schedule. I think we talked about this, so hopefully this is accurate. On the Ghost Pepper channel tomorrow evening, we should be doing a divorce court. We haven't been able to do divorce court. We haven't been able to do a divorce court for several weeks, because for almost a month, I think, because so much has been going on. Oh, Meg, I'm sorry. I was hoping you had been lurking. You should stream all the time every day. I mean, I'd get no work done later if I streamed all the time every day. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me when I do stream. Over on the Ghost Pepper channel tomorrow night, probably around 8 PST, Ghost and I are hoping to do a divorce court. We were playing Hades. I stopped in the middle of a run a month ago, so that's going to be really interesting, booting that up. Just got home from work. Oh no, I'm sorry, Meg, but I'm glad you got to see. Look at the cover we made. Isn't it beautiful? We did this on stream, and you guys helped me not go insane while I was doing it. So that's going to happen. We'll hopefully be playing Hades. It will be on Ghost's channel. I think I've said that like 10 times, so I'm sorry. That's going to be happening on Friday instead of Saturday, because Ghost has something else that's going on Saturday. I don't know if I'm allowed to say what it is. But I expect it to be long, and enjoyable for anyone who is into Dungeons and Dragons. So that's happening, and I will be back probably Monday, Wednesday, Thursday next week, but the times will be on the Discord. We're going to do another short next week. We're going to do another story. I think we're up to story 14 of 22 stories in 2022. So that's going to be happening. So I hope you guys will come hang out. There'll be some clicky clacking. I'm going to get going so that food can happen at some point, because I assume Ghost is waiting for me to stop yakking before he goes and starts dinner. We're going to drop in on someone who's super chill and also doing some art. Someone who's way better at art than me, because she's painting with watercolors. Let's do those raid calls. Please feel free to use any emotes that make you happy, whether you have my emotes or not. And I hope you and Ghost commit nice food. I think he's gonna grill some fish on the grill tonight, so I'm excited to see how that goes. And I just want to say thank you to all you fine people. Let's get this raid going, for coming by, for hanging out. You're all amazing. Thank you for the good questions, for the awesome advice, for teaching me more about Photoshop than I even actually knew when the stream started. And for your encouragement, because like I said, the last time we tried this, I don't necessarily know that it went well. I hope you all take care. I hope you all have fabulous weekends, because you're all fabulous people and deserve it. Need to buy Photoshop at some point. I use a super old version, but there is a subscription that you can get that lets you get access to the newest version of Photoshop. I know my brother-in-law uses it because he actually works in, like 3D conversion and stuff. And he knows way more about this stuff than I do. Thanks again. I know I've said it like 20 times, but thank you. Seriously, Thank you. It's been, my life has been insane for the last little while, and you guys have made it so much, so much, so much easier. And you're the best. Take care, guys. Bye.
Gloria. It's a really cool contemporary art museum.